Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today I will analyze the case of Sarm, Heslop, and Ryan Bane. First I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the incident, then offer my analysis. Sarm Joan Lillian Heslop was born on December 19, 1979, and was raised in Southampton, England. She found work as a flight attendant before making a big change in 2019, when she decided to travel to the Caribbean in a small boat with a couple of her friends. Sometime around 2020, Sarm met a man named Ryan Bane on Tinder, and they started dating. He was originally from Michigan, he had a master's degree, and had once worked in the automotive and finance industries. In a prior romantic relationship, Ryan had engaged in disturbing behavior. In 2008, he married a woman named Corey Stevenson. The couple lived together in Ohio. In November 2011, Ryan attacked her. Corey said that they attended a wedding. When it was over, she drove their truck home as Ryan was in the passenger seat. Evidently, he was trying to rest on the trip. Corey didn't know how to get home, therefore she asked for directions. This made Ryan furious. He flipped out and started striking the interior of the vehicle. In addition to being frightening, he was perpetuating the stereotype that men have a strong aversion to asking for directions. When the couple arrived home, Ryan pulled Corey out of the truck, knocked her to the ground, and struck her. He walked inside the house and locked the door. 20 minutes later, when Corey was able to enter the house, Ryan tackled her, grabbed her hair, smashed her face on the floor, and strangled her into unconsciousness. When she woke up, she called 911, and Ryan was arrested. Corey indicated that Ryan displayed a weird rage where his eyes went completely black. She said, "That was probably the scariest thing. So I was like, I'm going to die today." Ryan pleaded guilty to domestic violence and received a 60-day jail sentence. He was released after 21 days. The couple divorced in 2014. In 2015, Ryan started a private charter boat business using a 47-foot catamaran named Siren Song. This is what he was doing when he met Sarm. A few months after dating, the relationship between Sarm and Ryan became more serious. In February 2021, Sarm went to work for Ryan as a chef on his boat. She was looking forward to continuing their romantic relationship as the couple sailed throughout the Caribbean. Unfortunately, this magical journey would be tragically cut short. Before moving to the timeline of the incident, let's hear a word from today's sponsor, Delete Me. Over the past few years, I have covered a lot of stalking cases which involve a perpetrator easily finding personal information online. When people try to get this information removed, they find out it's extremely time-consuming. Fortunately, there is a solution. Delete Me is a subscription service that can eliminate this type of personal information that is for sale online. They have the straightforward mission of removing customers' information from search results and upholding your right to manage and remove your personal information. The privacy experts at Delete Me work continually to remove information from hundreds of data brokers. This gets rid of your personal data like address, occupation, marital status, age, names of relatives, and so on. How does it work? Submit your information to Delete Me, and their experts remove it. After that, they check every 3 months to make sure any new data get removed as well. If you want your personal information removed from search results on the web, go to joindeleteme.com/drgrande. Delete Me is offering 20% off their privacy plans to all my viewers with my code Dr. Grande. Again, that's joindeleteme.com/drgrande, promo code Dr. Grande. Now moving to the timeline of the incident. On March 7, 2021, Sarm Heslop and her boyfriend Ryan Bane were on board Siren Song. The vessel was in Cruz Bay at the island of St. John in the U.S. Virgin Islands. By this point, Sarm had been working for Ryan for only 2 weeks and had just completed her first private charter. Siren Song was moored about 150 feet from the shore, so the couple used a dinghy to travel to the island. At 2:34 a.m., now on March 8, 2021, Ryan called 911 and reported that Sarm was missing. He climbed into the dinghy and made his way to shore, where the police met him upon his arrival at 2:44 a.m., 10 minutes later. Ryan explained to the police that he and Sarm had traveled to the island at 6:30 p.m. They visited a restaurant/bar and then returned to Siren Song at 10 p.m. Sarm went to sleep immediately. At 2 a.m., Ryan woke up after hearing the anchor alarm. This alarm sounds when a boat is straying from its mooring. It was at this point Ryan realized that Sarm was missing. As far as theories about what could have happened, Ryan wondered if Sarm fell off the boat. According to Ryan, he was left with the impression that the police would call the Coast Guard. However, officers had a different story. They claimed that they told Ryan to call the Coast Guard. Ultimately, Ryan did notify the Coast Guard, but it was not until 11:46 a.m. on March 8, over 9 hours after he contacted the police. A search of the area was conducted, but it turned up nothing. When the authorities paid a visit to Siren Song, Ryan gave them Sarm's wallet, phone, and passport, saying that she left them behind on the vessel. He refused to allow the authorities to search his boat, and they never secured a search warrant. Ryan also refused to speak with them anymore. 5 weeks after Sarm's disappearance, Ryan Bane left and never returned. It appears as though he moved to Detroit, Michigan. His lawyer told the media that Ryan no longer owns Siren Song. The authorities in the U.S. Virgin Islands consider the investigation into Sarm's disappearance open, but admit they have run into a roadblock as far as evidence. Ryan Bane is the only person of interest in this case, but no charges have ever been filed. Now moving to my analysis. Ryan Bane maintains his innocence. He believes that Sarm may have hit her head and fallen overboard, or become disoriented while swimming. She lost her way and drowned. Despite his denial of responsibility, many people believe Ryan is responsible for Sarm's disappearance. They theorize that he went into a rage, just like he did years earlier with Corey Stevenson. During this rage, Ryan must have killed Sarm. Realizing he was in trouble, he disposed of her body somehow and reported her missing to the police. People who invest in this theory would like to see Ryan charged with some type of crime. This brings me to the question, is Ryan criminally responsible for Sarm's disappearance? Let's take a look at the evidence both for and against the idea that he is responsible, starting with the inculpatory factors. Ryan's ex-wife, Corey Stevenson, said that Ryan attacked her in 2011. As a result of this attack, Ryan spent time in jail. On March 8, 2021, Ryan's girlfriend, Sarm Heslop, went missing under mysterious circumstances while they were together on his boat, Siren Song, in the U.S. Virgin Islands. The last person to see her was Ryan Bane. He claimed that she went to sleep on the boat after spending the night at a restaurant/bar in St. John. According to Ryan, they were back on the boat by 10 p.m., which is when Sarm went to sleep. Video surveillance captured at the dock told a different story. Ryan and Sarm can be seen walking on the dock and climbing into the dinghy. They departed at 8:45 p.m. This means they would have made it to Siren Song at about 9 p.m. This leaves 1 hour unaccounted for in Ryan's story. What happened from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m.? Ryan claimed that the police told him they would call the Coast Guard, but the police said they instructed Ryan to call. Eventually, he did call the Coast Guard, but it was not until over 9 hours later. Why did he wait so long? When Ryan refused to let the police search his boat, they reported that he appeared to be heavily intoxicated. The captain of a boat moored 300 feet away from Siren Song did not hear anything around the time of Sarm's disappearance. This includes an anchor alarm. Again, Ryan said that the anchor alarm is what woke him up from his sleep. People familiar with search and rescue in the U.S. Virgin Islands report that when people fall into Cruz Bay, they are quickly found. Yet Sarm's body was never found. Even though Ryan Bane did contact the police, he didn't take other actions that are expected when somebody goes missing from a boat. For example, shouting the name of the missing person and alerting neighboring boats. A private investigator working on the case of Sarm Heslop claimed that before Ryan sold Siren Song, he had the freezer replaced. Now moving to the exculpatory factors. On the night of March 7, 2021, when Sarm and Ryan were at the restaurant/bar in St. John, witnesses noticed that Sarm appeared to be fine. There was no indication she was in distress. In the video surveillance that captured the couple walking to the dinghy, there were no indications that they were fighting or anything else was wrong. Ryan Bane did display disturbing behavior in his marriage with Corey Stevenson. Again, he attacked her. But Sarm Heslop never reported to anyone that she was displeased with Ryan. She appeared to be excited about their romance. There was a 1 hour discrepancy between when Ryan said that he and Sarm arrived at the boat and the time revealed by video surveillance. This discrepancy isn't really that dramatic and can be explained simply through misremembering. Ryan would not be the first person who failed to remember times correctly. He was only off by about an hour. If Ryan did murder Sarm, why would he report her missing in St. John? Nobody on the outside had any reason to believe she was in trouble. It wasn't like people were keeping a close eye on the relationship between Ryan and Sarm, waiting for a disaster. Ryan could have easily sailed away from St. John and reported Sarm missing later, saying that she fell off the boat in the open ocean. There would have been no way to prove that he was lying. That strategy would also have given him time to clean the boat or otherwise destroy evidence. As far as the failure to immediately contact the Coast Guard, intoxication may have contributed. It's also possible that Ryan truly did believe the police were going to contact the Coast Guard. Why would the police shift that responsibility to Ryan? They really should have contacted the Coast Guard rather than counting on Ryan to take care of it for them. When considering all the evidence in this case, do I believe that Ryan Bane is criminally responsible for Sarm's disappearance? As suspicious as Ryan's behavior is, none of the available evidence directly ties him to a murder or anything like that. It is possible that Sarm fell into the water and drowned, especially if she had been drinking that night. In my opinion, there is no way to prove that Ryan murdered Sarm beyond a reasonable doubt. I think one could make a good argument that, due to intoxication, Ryan was in no condition to offer assistance to Sarm if she fell off the boat. He could be responsible for what happened to her in that sense, but this is certainly not criminal. That takes care of the legal standard, but what about in reality, like the balance of probabilities? Under this standard, I believe Ryan is responsible. He had a history of violence and was the last person to see Sarm. I doubt the truth will ever be known, but there are plenty of reasons to be suspicious of Ryan. The big problem in this case is the authorities failed to search Ryan's boat. They blame this failure on Ryan's refusal, but they had probable cause to make the search due to exigent circumstances. Who knows what they may have discovered? If no evidence was found, this would have reinforced the idea that Ryan was not responsible. If they did find evidence, maybe they could have figured out what happened to Sarm. Depending on one's perspective, the authorities performed an injustice against Ryan or against Sarm. The mysterious circumstances that remain will leave a cloud of suspicion over Ryan for the rest of his life. No one can prove his guilt, and he can't prove his innocence. One thing is for certain, any potential romantic partner of Ryan may want to consider his history before entering into a relationship. Those are my thoughts in the case of Sarm Heslop and Ryan Bane. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. One thing I've noticed from looking at various cases involving maritime mysteries or fatalities is how when people get on boats, they sometimes drink alcohol. This is a tendency that expands just beyond boating. People tend to drink alcohol in a lot of situations when they shouldn't, like when they're getting ready to drive a motor vehicle. There's something about alcohol that people just can't resist. They can't even put it off for a few minutes while engaging in a dangerous activity, in an activity that demands one's full attention, one's full capabilities. Alcohol has a way of introducing itself at the worst times. One could argue that any time alcohol is introduced is the worst time. But clearly, there are times that are more dangerous than others. I don't know what happened to Sarm Heslop, but drinking while on a yacht or while visiting an island is not a good idea. This introduced risk that was completely unnecessary. It's interesting how these mysterious cases often have the same origin story. Alcohol can be traced back to many disasters that have occurred involving yachts or boats in general. There's also another way to look at this. If Ryan Bane didn't do anything wrong, and as I mentioned, he was never charged with a crime, he might have difficulty convincing people due to his intoxication. Again, that may have been to blame for him not contacting the Coast Guard when he was supposed to contact them. So the alcohol may have led to Sarm's death and to all the suspicion that's now on Ryan. Alcohol may have come at a high cost to more than one person in this mystery.